Shalom, everybody. Welcome back. We're continuing where we left off in Likutey Halakhot. Rav Noson's discourse on the laws of Nefilat Apayim, the falling on the face. That's the technical translation, which takes place after the Amida prayer. Discourse number 4, paragraph 11, based on Likutey Moharan lesson 24. And a friendly reminder that if these classes have been inspiring you, please share them with others. So we're continuing with how Rav Nosson is dissecting the miracle of Pesach. He's explaining what was actually the miracle of Pesach. On a simple level, it was freedom from bondage, slavery. Okay, that's what we were taught when we were children, and as young adults, teenagers, and as adults, and that's the simple understanding. We were in bondage. But on a deeper and more personal level, what is this bondage? What was this slavery? What were we really trapped in? And this is where Rav Nosson now is going to explain piece by piece the actual fine details of the redemption and what was the difficulty in the redemption and why it was such a big miracle. And it's obviously connected, and it's concluding what Rav Nosson said in the beginning of this paragraph 11, which we explained in the previous two classes on this lesson. So now Rav Nosson is going to go into the actual miracle so you can understand what was the miracle, what was the deeper meaning of the miracle, and why was it such a miracle. And we're going to see afterwards where this takes place in every individual's life. Where do we experience, when do we experience a Pesach miracle, and then the follow-up miracles that we need for our other situations. Because again, the Pesach miracle is called the first Geula Rishona, the first redemption. And now us, before Mashiach comes, we're waiting for the Geula Achona, the final redemption. And there's a difference. There's a difference in the light and the chemistry of these two redemptions. They're similar, and yet they're not similar. There's a big, big difference between us leaving Egypt and us hopefully leaving this final exile of Edom, Rome, the final one, Esav's descendants, and the coming of Mashiach. Okay? And this is where Rav Nosson is going to go into what's the difference between Chametz and Matzah. We now, technically, in our final stage, the final exile, we are in Chametz stage. We are waiting and waiting and waiting, like Chametz, okay? Pesach was the opposite. Pesach was Hashem had to speed it up. We eat matzah to commemorate the chipazon, commemorate the fast, swift leaving on the night of Pesach. And these are two attitudes. One is quick and one is slow, okay? And we have to understand the difference. And also in your personal life, you have the initial light of your coming close to God. You're getting out of your darkness, doing tshuva, converting, going up a level, whatever it is according to who you are. That initial light is compared to Pesach, where they speedily try to help you come out to a higher level of awareness, to wake up and to come back to Hashem, and you're being assisted from above like matzah. And then there's the follow-up stage, we have to wait and wait and wait like chametz, okay? And both are needed, and in both, if you apply one to the other, it's super duper detrimental, okay? When you're in a matzah scenario, where you're in such a darkness that you need assistance from above to lift you up, there's no time to waste. It's a light to get you out, because if you stay there, you'll be stuck there forever, chas v'shalom, God forbid. Whereas chametz, we have the apparatus, we have the vehicles and the vessels and the means of Torah that we received already at Har Sinai, plus all the tzaddikim who built on for all these generations to give us more and more handles how to combat the Yetzer Hara. So we are in waiting stage, chametz, specifically waiting and being souring of the mind, chimutz hamoach it's called. And with that, that's our mode now. And to go too fast now is dangerous also. You have to wait. In order to get properly to the right address deep inside the darkness of this exile and do extraction of the holy lights, you have to wait and wait. It's like a spy who knows how to get very, very friendly with the enemies. He gets friendly and friendly and friendly until he gains their trust. And once he's gained their trust, then he can go in and penetrate and do what he has to do of extraction. That's how it is in this final exile. So now let's see in how Rav Nosson says this inside. וזהו תוקף הנס של הגאולה של פסח. With all of this, we can understand the awesomeness, the awesome power of the miracle of the redemption of Pesach. שהשם יתברך עשה עמנו חסד נפלא ונורא מאוד, שאנו זוכים להערה גדולה כזאת, שאין אנו ראויים לזה. Unbelievable Rav Noson's language. What was the awesome, powerful miracle of this redemption of Pesach? That Hashem, blessed be He, did with us awesome and wondrous, a very awesome and wondrous kindness, and that, and like Rav Nosson says that even in present tense, sha'anu zochim, that we merit to this awesome light, this great light, such a light that we're not even worthy of it. That's the idea here. We're given a light which is above our true level. We're not fit to receive it, but it's needed, because if not, you get stuck. Where's free will? In this sense, there's no free will. Hashem makes the initiative to help a person receive some light, and through this light, this creates a free will. Because once you've experienced such a light in such a darkness, now you have free will. And until then, where there was no light and only darkness, there's no free will. So Hashem, to create a scenario of free will, has to give a person exposure of this light in his deep darkness, okay? And that was the case in Egypt. Through what's called in the Kabbalistic terminology, an arousal from above. Hashem's doing everything, and you're just a recipient. No input on your part, because you can't do any input. What do you know better if you're in darkness? How do you get out if you never tasted light? Because if it were not for Hashem making this initiative and helping a person get out of his darkness, it would have never been possible at all to redeem the Jews from Egypt. And he explains, because when a person's in darkness and he has no handles, no means, he's going to explain why there was no means to receive a mentality, a mochin, an input of intellect, of holy intellect, step by step. You can't expect that of the Jews in Egypt scenario. He says, because it's impossible to receive then in that scenario the intellect step by step through the koach hamesader. Just to explain a little, koach hamesader is called the strength, the control power of the mind to settle the mind. Okay? Settling of the mind is a high level. It's higher than anything else because it's through your energy, your input, your toil, you're working at yourself step by step. When the accomplishment comes, it's here for good. As opposed to a person who gains a big light, even if it's higher than the step-by-step light that you work to attain, but that high light is temporary because it wasn't an accomplishment. It wasn't through your work and toil and waiting and davening and patience and getting up after every down. It wasn't through that. It was just a big light, boom, given to you. So then it takes off. Okay? So that means the greater accomplishment, what Hashem created the world for, is the keseder. Having an intellect acquired through step-by-step, slow advancement, with a lot of setbacks, but you're able to handle them and to get back up and to continue going until everything is internalized, slowly but surely, but it's internalized. That's the goal, that it should be internalized, B'ezrat Hashem. That was not even a question to happen in Egypt. When a person is in total darkness, like he's going to go into Rav Nosson, that cannot happen. Let's see how now Rav Nosson explains. I just had to explain the idea. There was no koach hamesader, there was no mind faculty of organizing and structuring the mind to be a vessel to receive light from a higher level. It was way above the person's level. It was a big dosage of light, and the Jews just took it in with emunah, without any sechel, no intellect, just emunah. That was the whole miracle of Pesach. Even though emunah is a big thing, and in fact emunah is possibly the highest thing, still, like Rabbi Nachman teaches in many places in his teachings, emunah without intellect is dangerous. The opposite is also true. Intellect without emunah is nothing. It has no value at all. But also emunah, which is something big already that somebody believes, if there's no da'at, so such a person can have many misconceptions due to his faith. He needs the Torah to clarify what to believe in and then to believe in it. That's why Torah study, intellect, holy mochim must be joined with emunah in order for the emunah to advance a person. In Egypt, there was no da'at, there was no intellect, nothing. So it was only emunah, and Hashem filled their emunah with this big light from above to get them out. Okay? But our goal is to get what's called koach hamisader, the faculty of the mind's ability to organize the mind as becoming a vessel to perceive higher levels of light, of intellectual light. Okay? Like we said, because in Egypt they had a stronghold. The evil forces had a major stronghold on the Jews. So even though it's a virtue that you're working to toil from darkness, from an evil domain to come out, which Hashem appreciates, but because he's saying in Egypt, it was unfair. There was too much of a stronghold of the klipot. You have this in life. You have it in life that where you are now, you can't advance. That's why Hashem told Avram Avinu, you want to come close to me? You have to do lech lecha. You have to leave artzecha, moladetecha, beit avicha. Avram, you want to become Avraham? You're going to have to leave your father's home. Yes, you're going to have to leave your hometown, your family, and your vicinity in order to become who you really are. That happens in life. That where a person is, there's too much evil there, even though there's a virtue of the challenge. But here they say the challenge is too much. There's too much evil here, and you have to cut off from the evil in order to grow. You have to uproot and strengthen yourself elsewhere. To expect you to grow here, it'll be like cutting off the arms and legs and telling a person to climb the wall. It's impossible. That's how it was in Egypt. Even though it's a virtue to overcome the klipot, as they were, they couldn't do that. They have to build themselves up elsewhere, a healthy scenario that allows them the option to build, and then they can face the evil. Okay, but at the time, no way. It doesn't happen on its own like that. Okay? So again, Rav Noson's wording, because in Egypt, the evil forces had a major attachment, that's a good word, achiza, attachment to the Jews so much, okay? So, like we said, and it's already been explained in this lesson, Likutey Moharan, lesson 24 mentioned above, that what? That on one hand, look, on one hand, it's impossible to merit, to rectify the faculty of the power of the mind to structure and organize the mind, that through doing that, a person eventually attains this level, this concept called Emtsaut Alma. Rabbi Nachman talks about this in lesson 24. He says, through having the mind settled, the structure and the step-by-step growth of the mind, a person then is able, he's worthy to perceive this concept called the center of the universe. The center of the universe is a term Rabbi Nachman borrows and uses from an argument, a challenge between the wise men of Athens and Rabbi Yeshua ben Chananya that appears in the Gemara, Masechet Bechorot, page 8a. There they challenged Rabbi Yeshua ben Chananya. They asked him, where is the center of the universe? And he answered, he stuck up his finger and he said, right over here. And they said, Mi Yemar, who says so? And he said to them, Aitu ashle umoshchu, bring a rope and measure, and you'll see that I'm right. So Rabbi Nachman takes this very deep, very weird argument, and he explains what were they really asking these heretics, these atheists, these evil people, these evil philosophers called the wise men of Athens. He asked, what's the deeper meaning behind it? So they're asking like this, Emtsauta da Alma, the center of the world, or in a broader sense, the center of the universe, which is the infinite light. Infinite light is the center point of the entire universe, because it's from there that the universe exists. It's called the center point, because when Hashem created the world, He made what's called the Chalal HaPanui, a vacated space, empty, hollow space, empty, as if to say Kivyachol of Hashem. And once Hashem made it empty of His presence, He shone into the middle point a ray of light coming from His infinite light from the outside of this hollow space into the center point, And once it hit the center point, boom, it like bounced back, filling up the entire hollow space with Hashem's existence, the creation, and hidden in the creation, Hashem himself, okay? But first there was a nothingness, and in the nothingness, Hashem put in his infinite light, okay? That's why it's called the center of the universe, because the whole universe exists from the infinite light. So it's funny, Rabbi Nachman's interpreting that these heretics admit that there's an infinite light, but they want to say it's impossible to grasp. You have to find other worldly means and just deny and disregard running after spiritual pursuits, because anyways, you're not going to get anywhere. So they said, the wise men of Athens, asking Rabbi Shua ben Chananya, how does one connect to the infinite light? Where is it? Where is the center of the universe? In other words, where can a person find a way how to connect to the infinite light, which is the source of all life force in the creation? So he stuck up his finger, as if to say from the concept of the hands containing fingers. In lesson 24, Rabbi Nachman explains the hands, the fingers, represent blessing. Because we see when Kohanim bless people, when there was Birkat Kohanim, the priestly blessings, they have to raise their hands, as if to say that the blessing is being channeled through their hands being spread out. And always, it's known a transmission of blessing from one to another through the hands. When the father blesses the sons, like we saw by Yaakov Avinu blessing Menashe and Ephraim, right? He says, Siker et yadav, he wanted to bless them and he reversed his hands. But he blessed them with the hands. Smicha, the term for giving rabbinical ordination. We don't have it today, but in the time of the Gemara and the Mishnah, it was called smicha, that the rabbi rests his hands on the head of the student. Okay, transmission, okay? So the hands are the source of bracha, and from the bracha of the hands, a person can connect to the infinite light. Because once you activate bracha through the hands, which Rabbi Nachman explains is by doing the mitzvot with joy, that's how you activate the concept of the hands, to be able to receive the blessing of intellect, which will eventually get you to the infinite light. So they asked, Mi Yemar, who says? Mi Yemar, who says? The word Yemar is also grammatically similar to Tmura, exchange. Exchange meaning a hint to the exchanged chambers. There's this concept in the Kabbalah called the exchange chambers, which is the domain of evil. They, in this world especially, try to switch hamara, try to exchange everything, good for evil, evil for good, truth for falseness, falseness for truth, light for darkness. In other words, people are fooled in this world. The evil manages to fool people in this world, okay? Because that this world is danger zone, because it's the domain of the exchange chambers, where the evil forces have permission to play games with people and ruin their lives by misconceptions. By misconception. At every stage, there's a misconception. It's already a big thing for a person from the world to recognize Judaism, okay? And then in Judaism, to recognize true Judaism, Torah observant Judaism as opposed to Reform or secular, whatever, okay? And then even once you, in the world of Judaism, there's many differences, there's many customs, there's many groups, and even when you find a group and you have always the confusions within yourself, am I doing the right thing? Am I doing the wrong thing? Is this what Hashem wants of me? Is this a mitzvah? Am I being misled? Am I wasting my time? At every stage, you have this challenge of exchanges, okay? And it's dangerous. But Rabbi Nachman says in that lesson, that's the only way you can connect to the infinite light. By going through the purging of the exchange chambers and successfully coming out with extraction of holy sparks, which you succeed in getting out by being happy and doing mitzvot with happiness, then you are entitled to create vessels that perceive the infinite light. So he says in the lesson that the way to come to the hands, the bracha, is you have to first go down, down, down into the exchange chambers and come out with joy. Ki besimcha tetzeu, and joy will come out, extracting the holiness. So they challenged Rabbi Yeshua ben Chananya, mi yemar. In order to come to the hands, you have to go to the exchange chambers, which is tmura. So it's as if they're asking me, tmura, who is ready and able to go down into the exchange chambers to extract? And that's what they asked. But the answer is that's our key. Our key is by being besimcha, that's how we can successfully come out. That's what he told them, that only by being besimcha is how we can come out. Okay? So now Rav Nosson is asking a question. Since the only way to perceive the infinite light is specifically by being challenged by the evil forces, so it makes sense that the Jews were in Egypt, and it makes sense that they had to be challenged with coming out from the klipot. So if that's the case, why Hashem interfering with the process? Let the Jews build themselves up. Okay? So Rav Nosson is asking the question. And even though Rabbi Nachman said in this lesson, right? וכבר מבואר בתורה נזכלל, שאי אפשר לזכות לתקן את הכוח המסדר הנ"ל, שעל ידו משיגינו אמצע דעלמא. Like we said, that it's impossible to merit, to fix, to rectify the power of the mind to settle itself in structure, which is the prerequisite for the infinite light perception. Right? שעל ידו משיגין, that through it we can reach to perceive the center of the universe, which is שהוא אור האינסוף, which is the infinite light. And the only way to come to that is כי אם כשיורדין תחילה לעמקי הקליפות להעלות ניצוצי השמחה, wow, שהם ניצוצי הקדושה לבררם משם. The only way to do that is by first descending into the depths of the evil forces, which is called exchange chambers, like we said, and to elevate, to extract from there sparks of simcha, Rav Nosson says, sparks of holiness, which is sparks of simcha. And he says, shehem nitzutzi akdusha, which is another term, in other words, the sparks of joy are the sparks of holiness, which are trapped there. And only you can go in and to sift them out from there. And that's the only way to connect to the infinite light. Right? That all this is the concept of, like we just explained, what they asked. Mi Yemar, who says, which means who has the audacity and strength to go into the exchange chambers to extract, which is mentioned in the lesson we just mentioned above. Ayen Shametev, look there carefully. We did our best to give you the introduction. Aval Achshav, so the question mark is, so let them be in Egypt. Let the Jews work hard to extract. That's the whole thing. So what's the problem? Why did Hashem interfere in the procedure of being in Egypt to elevate holy sparks? Let the Jews do their work. Let them be purged and purged and purged until they elevate. So watch what he says, Rav Nosson. There are times in life where this does not work. The evil is too strong that it's demanding help from above. That's the free will. The free choice is that yes, you're thrown in a scenario which is way above your level to handle, and you need divine interference to help you to come out of it. There are times in life like that. Yes, it's understood. Pesach, Mitzrayim was one of them. Watch. And it happens in our lives also. But let's just first in context of Pesach and Egypt. אבל עכשיו, בשעת גאולה הראשונה, בשעת יציאת מצרים. However, now, at the time of the first redemption, which is the time of us leaving Egypt, אז אי אפשר להתחיל כסדר, לברר תחילה ניצוצי הקדושה מעמקי הקליפות, על ידי עשיית המצוות בשמחה. At this time of the initial redemption, the first redemption, when we had to leave Egypt, it was impossible then to begin to give the Jews a step-by-step process, even though that is the goal. That is how things should be. To go keseder, step-by-step, slowly, to sift out and elevate at first the holy sparks from the depth of the klipot, through, like Rabbi Nachman says in this lesson 24, through doing the mitzvot b'simcha. Already we have the answer. The Jews didn't receive the Torah yet, so there's no mitzvah they can perform with joy. Just on one side. Let's see if Rav Nosson goes into that. But that's already a thing. We didn't receive the Torah yet on Har Sinai. Receiving the Torah means that on a national level it was an obligation to do the mitzvot. That we received at Har Sinai. Even though Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov and descendants were observant and knowing certain mitzvot of the Torah, still, as a collective obligation for the Jewish nation, it wasn't there yet. It was the person had to make his initiative, and that could be not expected from a person under the burden of the heaviness of the exile of Egypt. Okay? So you can't expect him to do mitzvot b'simcha because the Torah wasn't given yet. But Rav Nosson is saying it couldn't happen in Egypt. And it continues, ולעלות אחר כך בבחינות הנאמרים בתורה נזכה לאל, and then by doing the mitzvot with joy, the follow-up is, as is mentioned in the concept mentioned in lesson 24, we have to bring up from the evil to the legs, the concept of the legs. We won't go into this right now. The concept of the legs to the hands, which we went into, yes, about the blessing of the hands, and from the legs to the mind, which is the blessing of the intellect, and from the mind connecting to the emunah, which is way above the intellect. And that's the stages to receive eventually the keter, the infinite light, okay? That through all these stages, from the legs, hands, head, and above to the emunah, that's how a person afterwards merits to rectify what's called the organizing, the structuring, and the settling of the mind, which is the greatest blessing in the world. That through this, until once a Jew merits to have a settled and organized and structured mind, then a person can merit, then the Jews could have merited in Egypt also, through this, to perceive a true perception of Hashem's godliness, blessed be He. Because the true perception of God comes from Yishuv Adat, from a settled mind. You have people, again, you see this a lot, newcomers, new Baal Tshuvas, new people, they're under a lot of light. And they feel such a connection to their God, and in davening, and you become envious and jealous of them. Look how he's davening. Listen, that. Remember, he's now under Pesach Geula mode. Has a lot of light shining into him, and it's above his level. He himself doesn't know what's happening, but you working in the dirt every day, working to get up early in the morning, put on your tefillin, another day of davening, another challenge of trying to focus on the words and not doing it, and all the ups and downs you go through in your life on a daily level, the daily challenges, and in every day you try to grab some Torah here, some mitzvot here, some tzedakah, some hitbodedut, some tefillah, some good deeds, etc., right? So you have many ups and downs, and that causes you that you have to go much slower, and you wait for the salvation to come, and you wait and wait and wait. Nothing to be jealous. He's now being given an experience of a light that's out there, so that when it's taken away, he knows what to work for. Like you. You know what you're working for, because you've experienced it, you know about it. He has to be made known about it, so he's given this initial Geula light experience, okay? So let's go back in here. This is the way to truly perceive godliness, through a settled mind, which comes with step by step, going through a lot of setbacks and waiting and getting back up, and to continue going until they open the doors. Okay? So now this wasn't the case in Egypt. Because again, back then in Egypt, the evil forces had a major attachment to the Jews. It was so strong, the attachment, the Jews at the time in Egypt did not have in them the strength to elevate the divine presence from its exile in Egypt, along with the Jews, step by step properly, which is the real ideal way to get it out. But they couldn't do it. The klipot, it's like a person tries to lift his head up, and again, they just push him back under the water. He tries to lift it up again, they push him back down. That's how it was in Egypt. They were just 24/7 in klipot. You couldn't be expected to have a free choice solution and situation for the Jews to do something to get out. That's how bad it was. You ask yourself, so why did Hashem do that then? Why give them a situation which was too heavy? So it seems in order for the Geula, the redemption, to take place from above, to give the Jews this experience. That's why it happens. There's an answer already. It happens for the Jews to experience. Nachon, Hashem is waiting for you to come back, but you can't come back. So Hashem has to do all the work to get you to come out. So why did you do in the first place, Hashem? Why did you get me stuck like this in the first place? To show you, Hashem says, to show you that you're going to need me, and I have this light to lift you up, and you know that it exists. Now we'll take away the light after you experienced it. Plus, we give you the tools and the weapons of the Torah and mitzvot. Now get to work. Now it's a challenge. But you're a warrior now. You received the Torah already. Continuing. So therefore, Hifli Hashem Yitbarach Chasdo Imanu Ve'ir Alehem Hitgalut Elukuto Beha'ara Nifla'a Shelo Behadraga Ve'shelo Kaseder. Here we go. Therefore, Hashem made a pele. Hashem made a wondrous act above the laws of His creation, above the laws of how to Torah observantly do things. Hashem, on His own initiative, shown a wondrous kindness, Hashem blessed be He, to us, and shined upon us a revelation of His godliness, but at such a high, super duper level, a wondrous, awesome level, not through step-by-step achievement and preparation, prerequisite, and not level by level. And that's how He got them out. By doing that, by shining such a light on the Jews who were so attached to the klipot. So what happens to the klipot then? נתבטלו הקליפות ויצאו השכינה וכנסת ישראל משם. Through this big, awesome light that Hashem shone upon the Jews when leaving Egypt, the klipot ceased to exist. They disappeared. They were nullified, and the divine presence, the Shekhinah, and the assembly of Israel, the Jewish people, came out of Egypt. Okay, so now what's with this light? וההארה העליונה הבאה מלמעלה בפסח, שאז עדיין אין זוכין להמשיך הכוח המסדר והמיישב מבחינת כתר כנזכר לעיל. So now this awesome light, which comes from above, on Pesach, even now, Rav Nosson says on Pesach, like it's coming down every year on Pesach, that she'az adayin, but going back, but back then we still did not merit to draw it upon ourselves through the power and the force and the strength of the concept of the mind being controlled, settled, and structured, which is the concept of the keter we mentioned earlier in this discourse. So this light, zot ha'ara, hi bechinat matzah. This is matzah. What we said earlier about matzah, this type of mentality, there's no yeast in the matzah, so it's not considered normal bread. You can't technically eat matzah all year round, okay? It's not easy. There's constipation problems, there's all types of medical problems. Even normal people agree that bread is bread. Bread has to be soft, chewable, okay, and easy to eat. Matzah, you have these rare people who have all sicknesses and everything, they eat matzah, whatever, all year round. But the normal people don't eat matzah, okay? Matzah, without leavening agents, is missing a factor, okay? It's missing that leavening, which is waiting. So that shows what matzah is. Matzah doesn't have leavening, a waiting agent to make it soured, okay, make it leavened. So therefore it's something which connotes being quick and above normal, above normality, because there's no leavening agent. It was done quickly. That's how matzah is made, by the way. Matzah, even during the year, to make matzah properly, you speed it up. There's no time for the leavening agent to take place. No chimutz, okay? So therefore it's fast. So the fast procedure that goes into making matzah also reflects the mentality of matzah, which is this high level of light. Because it is technically a nourishment. Matzah is a nourishment, nourishing the mind, but it comes made through a factor of quickness. So it shows the mentality that it reflects also. Because man's intellect is made through the food he eats. The food you eat affects your brain, obviously, right? So that's why he says this is called, everything we said until now, that's matzah. That's the idea of matzah. Rav Nosson introduced it before, but now he elaborated so much, you can understand much better what is the concept of matzah, why we eat matzah on Pesach, okay, and why chametz is forbidden. Let's see, let's go on, okay? Zot ha'ara hi bechinat matzah, she bechinat mochin gdolim me'od, which referred to these high, super high level of intellect that we received when leaving Egypt on Pesach, and we receive every year also on Pesach. That's why we eat matzah, to collaborate and to correlate the mentality that we're going through on Pesach. Ki bibchinat chametz, here we go. Ki bibchinat chametz, she bibchinat chimutz hamoach, because now, the opposite now, in the concept of leavened bread, chametz, which refers to the term chimutz hamoach, the souring of the mind, that the brain is soured with distortions of imagination, which create a distorted view of truth, of the real reality. Perceptions of godliness become distorted. That's chimutz hamoach. But Sham, in that mentality of chimutz hamoach, Sham nechaz az asitrach meod. When a person has leavening agents in the food, and that reflects the waiting, and in the waiting, there's time for leavening to take place, and in leavening, it's a mixture. There's air bubbles and wheat, right? It's not just the actual nourishment; it's food mixed in with air. That's the idea of air puffs, air bubbles inside the bread. When you slice a piece of bread that has leavening, it's sourdough, there's air bubbles inside. So it means it's not just the food, there's also an intermission of something else in between food particle, air, and that, on one hand, it's tastier, yeah, but it creates more room for distortion. That's what he says in Chimutz HaMoach. There's more strength and attachment. Sham nechaz asitracha meod, in souring of the brain, okay, which is reflected in the bread we eat also. There, the attachment of the evil to fool a person is very strong. Okay, so now going back to Egypt, to allow the Jews, when going through the Pesach light, to get out of Egypt on the night of Pesach, to allow them to eat chametz is danger zone. Because on one hand, you're trying to kill the attachment to the sitra, to the evil forces, which had such an attachment and stronghold on the Jews. But if you let them eat the chametz, the eating of the chametz just reactivates it, so you get nowhere. And it helps the evil forces to fight back against this big light coming to kill them. You're eating the chametz food, so it defeats the purpose. Okay? שם נכסית שלך מאוד, מחמת שעדיין לא זכו להמשיך בחינת כוח המסדר ומיישב את המוחין בבחינת כתר. Now all this is forbidden specifically on Pesach because the Jews don't have the means to combat these air bubbles which connote waiting, friction, things not being said, not being organized, causing the person to wait, set back, wait, start again, and try this, try that. That's the idea of chametz attitude. It's a war in fighting, okay? And all this we couldn't do on Pesach because we still do not merit the Jewish people to internalize the strength of the settling and organizing of the mind, which comes from the Keter, which the Jews began to be able to internalize on Shavuot, which is why we received 2 crowns, the Ketarim of Nasev and Ishma. We received them on Shavuot, if you recall. We'll stop here and we'll see how Rav Nosson continues this. And thank you for joining.